On. Hello.
1, 2.
One, two. We're going. Welcome to the actual first episode here.
We said that before.
Yeah, I know, but this really is. We did a run through, and it went very, very, very well.
Which is why we're not using it.
Yeah. So this is Unlistenable with Tim Briffa, me, John Jenkinson. The point of this podcast is this is the first one. We're going to grow from here. Is the plan? This is the idea behind it. Explain the idea behind it, Tim.
Well, originally inspired by Channel 4's After Dark, which we're both fans of, and we thought of doing a TV kind of version. Of course, that's completely unlikely at this point because you wouldn't even be able to broadcast the stuff they talked about now. But we want to go towards that eventually. But anyway, the idea is to start. Well, we would have thought of having guests and whatever, but we just thought let's just fucking start it as a podcast and be informal, and we'll just build up, like you say.
It's basically being able to discuss a topic, an informal conversation with.
After Dark, I should say, was a 3-hour show. Is when Channel 4 started. It was one of their kind of pioneering programs. It was on a Friday night, and it would run for 3 hours. Had a load of interesting guests. You might have about 8-10 people around a table, and they'd debate something, but they were very controversial stuff, and it was really fascinating. And there's the one where Ollie Reed was with the Kate Millett, was it?
I think so, yeah.
The feminist, as he called her, bull dyke, and he jumped on he tried to kiss her over the couch. Anyway,
so that's the sort of thing we're going to be trying to emulate.
Yeah,
to drag some feminists in and
jump over couches,
jump at them. So yeah, we're basically going to start off with one topic today and see how it goes. It's probably going to be massively irritating.
Yeah,
listening to two sort of uninformed middle class idiots talking about.
We should say who we are, shouldn't we? Or is that?
Oh no,
it matters. Okay,
it doesn't matter.
All right, we're two blokes.
Thank you for listening to this. Bear with us. Come back in about 12, 15 episodes time. It should just be starting to take shape then. But we can't really get to that unless we start. So the topic we were going to start off with today was, is there a God?
Yeah, it's an easy one.
God, that's...
We thought we could...
do you know a lot of people hate that sort of... people really hate that discussion, though. People find it really, really irritating.
I know. Well, you know, I thought about this. I haven't thought about this much because you said to prepare some stuff, and I just couldn't think of anything to prepare.
No, I didn't prepare anything. I went straight out the window.
But what occurred to me was that actually there's people I thought, for example, friend was around earlier.
I don't know what evidence.
He's a very, very interesting character. Sorry?
I don't know what evidence I thought you were going to be bringing to the table.
Well, even just some quotes or something I thought.
Yeah.
But
I'm glad you did.
But this guy, very, very sort of very bright, engaging character. But I thought about asking him, and then I thought, in all the time I've known him, we've never discussed that, and I don't know whether he thinks about it, but I suspect that he doesn't, and I think that's true with a lot of people. There was actually a theory of a philosopher I mentioned in my book of essays, who, French guy, he came up with this philosophy based on the fact after he heard a story of a guy who shot himself shortly after farting at a dinner party. And he came up with this theory. He's like, "Wow, Jesus Christ, that's quite."
Why he so shot?
He was so ashamed that he farted loudly at some formal dinner party that a couple of days later he shot himself. And so he built up this theory that actually what concerns people most in life is not the big existential, is there a God? Is there any meaning? It's embarrassing physical conditions that they can't talk about openly. He said that's what causes the most misery. And
nowadays, do you think?
Absolutely nowadays. Do you know how many fucking things are out there? How many diseases, like sort of, bowel problems, sexual problems,
I know how many things
menstrual
are out there,
problems.
but I don't think people are so...
even personal things about appearance, I think, there's a big factor that people never discuss, even with their friends. They might have some hang-up about their teeth or something.
I think nowadays people are a lot more open about farting at dinner parties. And
I'm not...
But having scabs on their
farting,
cocks.
I mean, discomfort, your jock itch, if you've got that. Candida, recurring candida. But it's one of those things, I don't think so. I think people there's a hell of a lot of them. There's sort of all sorts of, bowel things. I went through it. I can't remember all the anal fissures, various sexual diseases. I mean, herpes. I don't know what the prevalence of. I think in America it's 1 in 5 or something have had herpes or something like that. Now that's going to be a downer, and not the sort of thing you're going to mention to your friends.
Well, no, I don't know if it's necessarily embarrassment, but I think most people are, of course, more preoccupied with what's going on with their bodies than they are with the possibility of, than where we came from. Where we are and where we're going. I think obviously But I mean, that's the thing with, the fact
I suppose they're also thinking about their rent and all
Yeah,
that.
that's what I was going to say. That's why the country can go to shit, but most people are more, people have to get up and go to work. There's not a lot of time to be outraged.
Yeah, which is how politicians work.
Yeah.
In a way, keep people confused and broke and whatever. They're never going to question the bigger issues.
Mm-hmm.
But,
So getting onto the idea of God, it amazes me how few people will have that conversation, or are even interested in getting into that conversation. And so let's get into that conversation.
Okay, that's a good way to on the premise that no one's interested. So let's
nobody's interested.
Let's get listeners
based
on
waffle on in a really uninformed
that
way.
Everyone's interested in.
Yeah. I think that's as I say, this is the first episode. It's going to be so populist by the 25th episode. It's going to be like TFI Friday.
I've seen the newspapers.
Okay,
exactly. I read this earlier on the way to work.
Steep right.
Apparently, there's a study that's just come out.
Yeah.
All right.
So so let's have this conversation. You tell me what your opinions are on God. Go.
Okay, go.
So you believe?
Well, I went to a Catholic school for the monks and all that kind of stuff. And I was sort of religious, really. I was very superstitious. We had it all bred into us that, you go to hell if you fucking so much as fucking jerk off, basically. And I had huge guilt about sex and the thought that I really was going to hell.
So what did they actually say about jerking off?
If your right eye causes you to sin, pluck it out. For it is better to go to heaven minus one eye than to spend the rest of all eternity burning in the hell fires. And if your right hand causes you to sin, cut it off, I say to you, because it's better to go through life minus one hand than to enter eternity burning with both. I can't remember the bullshit, but you know what I mean? But that was what we were given. We were given all that. Yeah, that was a sermon we had. And you're sitting there going at 13, going, Christ, what if that's true? Burn forever.
Does that ever concern you now that might be
No,
true?
I lost it. I forcibly I think I quite all that wrong. But anyway, more.
No, it makes sense.
I forcibly kind of disengaged from it, and I kind of started to this can't be true as well. But it took a long time to actually fully just go, right, okay, I really don't believe it. And then the trouble was around about 20 or 21, because I dropped out sort of 16, so I kind of didn't have the full indoctrination. Then by about 20, I was partying and doing all the kind of stuff, having sex and enjoying myself, and I wasn't guilty about any of it by that point. Then what I had was a slight existential crisis.
Yeah.
Where it's a bit hard to explain this, but I kind of basically started thinking too much about life and stuff and came to the conclusion that everything was futile. I suppose a lot of people do it to a degree, but it really did. This was a real problem for me. I actually came to the conclusion that, because at that time I wanted to be successful, famous musician, make money, screw around, do all the stuff. And I kept on thinking about what that would mean. And all the people I would inevitably hurt, like I'd have to change the band members, which means that if I made it, then other guys would probably be ruining their lives because they'd always be jealous.
Yeah.
I was kind of sensitive to other people's pain, and I realised that basically, if I achieved what I wanted, I would be unhappy. I would make people unhappy, and then I would die, and that there was actually no point, But I know a lot of kids go, "Oh, what's the point?" But I really did get.
They do have a point.
Yeah, they do have a point. That's right. Yeah,
that's why I
exactly right.
Worry about having children. I'd find it very difficult when they hit about 14 and they were locking themselves in their bedroom, going, "It's all futile." I'd find it quite difficult to coax.
How to answer them?
Yeah, I go. Yeah, you're probably right. I mean, I've learned.
The thing is, that's the thing. It kind of the only real answer to that is because you do die, you do turn to dust. It is all irrelevant. You might just about leave. You could leave some kids behind, some art behind, or whatever. But it's still going to go to the dust eventually. That does make you think you've got to live for now. You either give up or you live for the moment.
I hit that at about 12. I had like a massive nervous breakdown.
Did you?
Left school. God, we sound like a right pair of whinging fucking...
I know.
But I still feel the same way. But I don't know... But I'm a lot more optimistic.
I think that's a trick of the mind.
Quite a happy person. But I don't know how I've managed to be okay with that.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm just sort of... It's just calloused over because I've just been through it so many times, or whether I'm actually...
But I think it is a slight trick of the mind. It's only when you start to think that you have those problems. And this is the trouble. If you start thinking, if you can, do what you're meant to do in meditation, actually just clear your mind, not fall asleep, but just stay alert, but without thoughts, you are automatically happy.
Yeah.
Not exactly happy, but you're not unhappy.
Well, that's what meditation is.
Just living.
Not being tormented.
So then you don't question it, and you just do what every animal on the planet does and gets on with it. And really, that's the solution. The trouble is, man is built with this kind of overactive roof brain that fucking goes mentally able to, it's part of the reason we're so successful, but it's also why we're the only species that commits suicide.
But death is fine. I'm fine with death as long as there's nothing after death.
I think there is something after death. I very much think there is, unfortunately.
I don't think there is. Because...
Yeah, why?
Oh, this is good. People are going to be really starting to switch off now.
I know, I'm already switching off myself for my own thoughts. Yeah.
No, this is good though. We're gonna push towards the populist 20th episode of this program. I think the key to this is not worrying about the audience.
Yeah, it's either that or worry about it.
Fuck you.
Either that or really. They'll
either fall asleep or they'll turn it off or they'll do it's all right.
Yeah, it could be a soothing
Let's
night
not,
sort of thing to have.
Yeah. To have me discuss why there's nothing after death.
You don't know though, do you?
Well, obviously I don't know, and nobody does. But okay, I'm going to disregard the audience now and do. And allow for a little bit of dead air. I think we should not be frightened of the dead air. Okay. Okay. There's no emergency tape that's going to kick in.
Okay.
Right. Okay. Bear with me. What we are as human beings is there is no self. There is no essential self. We are just awareness processing information. There's infinite bits of information, and we are taking on board information. Essentially, it's all touch in various forms of, sensitivity. The most sensitive is like sight, I think.
Sight is basically touch, apparently.
Yeah, exactly.
It's things landing on your retinas or something
exactly.
like that. Yeah.
That's like the most sensitive.
Sight is actually weight on your retinas or something stupid like that.
So it's all essentially touch.
That's really stupid, I should say.
But we're all...
My understanding of it's stupid. Yeah.
No, it makes sense. So we're just processing that information.
But you're processing it different to me. Sure.
But... I had this worked out. This is the research. I should have written this down on a post-it note. And but once we die, it's those faculties shutting down. When you fall asleep. I mean, the self barely survives being asleep. I mean, we dream. We have this sort of.
We have periods where you're unconscious, aren't there?
Yeah. Well, there's nothing.
It's just nothing.
Yeah.
No.
So.
Well, then again, we say that. What we can say is that we don't remember anything from it. Perhaps there is part of you that's conscious. We just wake up and just don't remember any of that bit. Yeah. Just remember the exciting bit where we fly and get chased by some animal.
But I mean, they do brain scans and see what happens when you are in deep. Unless the brain obviously is not. It's the brain.
It's sort of, it is conscious because you wake up at noises and things when you're asleep. I mean, even. So there is a sort of, you could just say,
well, your heart's continuing to beat without so something's going on.
There is,
the brain is still working.
Yeah. But even
But I woke a few months. When you wake up and you go, "Where am I?" When you're in a strange house. I woke up a couple of months ago and literally went, "Who am I?"
Really?
Oh yeah. And I had a moment where I was like, I was nobody, and I had to
must feel like,
regather. And there is essentially no self. If you cut your legs off, you're still you. If you shave your head, you're still you. Your thoughts are not you.
I know this is and also we're mostly made of bacteria.
No, we're not. We're not mostly bacteria. We're mostly water. Well, speak for yourself.
Hang on.
There's a lot of bacteria.
In terms of there's a huge fucking.
Which affects your mood.
Put it this way, without the bacteria, we'd be dead.
And also, they do.
So who is us if we can't live without the bacteria?
Is that true? If we get rid of the bacteria,
right. Yeah,
but if we get rid of the water, if we get rid of the blood, if we get rid of the oxygen,
but bacteria is actually a living thing.
Yeah.
So you think, well,
and also they are finding out that certain bacteria make you. There was a new study.
I hope there's no one scientific listen to this because they're just right.
Oh no! Well, this is the problem. This is why we have to really not. I think it's going to be a lot.
Bacteria, you moron.
We are turning into the people that I just said. There's so many podcasts of idiots talking uninformed shit.
Yeah. What happens in the comments? By the way, I should point out, I don't. John listens to podcasts. I don't really listen to any except for the occasional political one. It's not really a podcast.
So you passing the buck?
No, I'm just saying I don't know what they.
I'm not
what
regulating this.
No, I'm just curious. What happens in the comment section? These people, they just got no listeners.
I never read.
Because that can be quite entertaining if they're just two blokes.
Do you know what? I think it's become quite apparent that we have complete and utter disdain for anybody actually listening to this.
Yeah.
So yeah, there is essentially no self to speak of. So what survives after you die?
Consciousness.
Yeah, but what is
I don't fucking know. I
consciousness
mean,
barely
you can argue that
survives
out scientifically or whatever. I mean, my main reason for thinking there is because I've done things like Ouija boards, which I know people are going to poo-poo, but I've dealt with mediums. I've gone to spiritualist churches. I've gone to quite a lot of personal mediums, trance mediums, and spoken to people who've had life after life experiences who are declared dead. I've had, the thing about this stuff is that you can have
the people
who've got none of these experiences
who died, the brain is still.
Well, I have a relative who.
Yeah, but the brain is still fizzing away. After you technically
I'm not sure.
die,
it's kind of in that state which, when you say that the brain, when you're asleep,
your brain
it's not
cannot
active.
come back from total brain
It's
death.
kind of not active, so there's no sort of activity on the brain, I think, on any scanner. And yet they can be having very, very sort of elaborate experiences. But it's more than that, because it's this idea that people always write it off and they go, well, it's the brain shutting down, it's chemicals, whatever. But there's much more to these stories than that they don't explain. Like, for example, they might see stuff in other rooms and that gets verified. There's a lot and lots of this information that comes out.
Yeah,
one of the things I've noticed with this kind of topic, it's a bit like psychic phenomena or weird coincidences, is that some people who are kind of rational, they go, I've never had anything strange happen. I've never seen it, and they haven't, and they haven't really met anyone else who has either. Now, I've met tons of people who have, and I have myself. Now, why is that? And I think part of that is because you have to ask people these questions before they're going to start telling you stories. And if you're not interested in it, if you're one of these people who doesn't ask, then they never get exposed to them. Whereas I often have chats like this, and some of the stories I've heard. Now, I'm not expecting other people to be convinced by it. It's just my own personal experiences. You shouldn't believe me because I'm telling you I've met people. But I am telling you honestly that I've had the moment I've talked about bizarre coincidences and whatever, and it's amazing. There could be 4 people at a table and someone will come out with a fucking unbelievable story that you go, my God, that happened to you.
But I think what's important
if you're open to this stuff, or things like near death, they say, well, actually, you know what, my mum's declared dead on the operating. I said, really, what happened? And then they'll tell you a long story. And unless the world is full of liars and fantasies, and I know there are some, yeah, but these are people a lot of them are people I've known for a long time. I mean, I remember having one with a guy, who I've known since I was 2 years old. Now, I've never known him to lie to me in my life. Now, the idea that he would suddenly come out with an elaborate story about his dad, I can't remember the whole one, but it's a very fucking interesting story. Off the top of his head. I mean, that to me is stupid.
But people do like to embellish, and this is.
Yeah, but he asked me to check it out with his dad. He was, I've also with him on another occasion when we went to a spiritualist church, and he got given a message, and it's very fucking bizarre what happened. I could not to this day been able to think of a rational explanation.
The problem that I have is people don't approach it in a scientific way. It's fine if these things happen, but
the thing is, science will never be able to sort of quantify these things because there are.
But you can approach it in a scientific way.
And you can say this happened, and you go, this is 1,000,000,000 to 1 against chance. You go, yeah, it doesn't prove there's
okay.
God.
Anyway,
it doesn't prove there's life after life. Maybe it just was a coincidence. Coincidences are going to happen. And it's really, you just cannot convince people of this. I mean, it's very hard to really get any kind of evidence. I argued out on a forum this one about the spiritualist church thing I went to, because they were all poo-pooing it. I don't know how I get onto this forum, but it was a sort of skeptics forum. And I said, well, you don't really, you say that there's no afterlife, but you don't know. And I mentioned this story. I'll give you, I don't know if I told it to you, but anyway, in a nutshell, my friend, who I've known since I was 2 years old, he said, my flatmate goes to this spiritualist church. They do psychic readings every week, and a medium gets up. It's free to go in, and they just get messages for people.
You're going to tell me a story now.
Yeah.
And then nobody else could have known that apart from.
That's exactly. Well, that's the reason I mention that story is because it's one of those stories. Because if I told you, I could tell you other ones, but there are possibilities.
Okay. Well,
this one I cannot think of.
We're going to go back onto the God thing. But
okay.
tell me.
Well, this is relevant because it does make you think.
Okay.
There's an afterlife, in which case which leads to God.
Okay. All right. Tell what happened.
Okay. So he said we should go. My flatmates keep saying it's really interesting things have happened to her. So they told her that a dog had died, described the dog, and something had happened the night before it died, and it was all accurate. She's very hung up about it. She had a guilt complex about this dog because she hadn't taken it for a walk the night before it died, and she felt really guilty. And they said right off, is it a red dog? It's a red setter, all this kind of stuff. Anyway, she was saying, you've got to check this out. It's really interesting, this place. And so one night, I think it was a Tuesday to do it, he said, do you fancy going along tonight? It's 7 o'clock. It's like the start of 7. I said, yeah, all right, sure, let's do it. And then, so I said, he said, so what would you like to know if they pick you out? They pick lots of different people. It's not just one. So if they go to you, what are you going to ask? I said, to be honest, everything in my life's all right now. There's no big thing that I'm wondering about. And I said, what about you? And he said, I'm wondering whether I should keep doing music or not. Right, we're both in bands. Yeah. So I'm not sure whether I should, maybe give it up. I went, all right, okay. And I know also he said at one point, because he wasn't a believer, he said, to be honest, I think the only thing that would make me believe in this stuff is if I was picked out, if it's something happened to me directly. Because he'd heard all these stories of his flatmate, but he wasn't convinced. So then we go to the church. I say church, it's really just a big room, really. And they take donations, but there's no money. It's free to go in. Each week they have a different guest speaker. Okay. And they're picking out various people. I remember one got picked out. The woman went, your name is I remember this, like Rhoda. No, you have an aunt called Rhoda. And I remember thinking, okay, how many people do you think have an aunt called Rhoda? I mean, I don't know anyone. The only Rhoda I know is the TV series from the 70s. I thought, if you're going to sort of, what do you call cold read. Yeah. Rhoda's not the name I'd have chosen. I said, a name beginning with J or something like that. That's how I'd do it. I wouldn't go Rhoda. And anyway, said stuff about her, and I was impressed by that. The other rest, they were just general stuff. And there was someone died. But then he said, "Excuse me, okay, I'm getting someone for one of you two gentlemen at the back of the church," pointing to me and my friend. And he said, "Would you both stand up? Because I'm not sure which one it is." And then he goes, "Okay, you to me." She goes, "Do you have any sailors in your background?" I go, "Not that I'm aware of." And he goes, "Okay." And he then goes, "Okay, you, sir," to my friend, "have you got any sailors?" And he goes, I don't know. He goes, "All right. Okay." And then I was told to sit down. I said, "Okay, right. You, it's you. Obviously you don't know much about your background, but you've got a lot of sailors in your background."
This is to who?
This is my friend.
Your friend, right?
You've got your great-grandfather's a sailor, your grandfather's a sailor.
Yeah.
And this is your grandfather getting through. Okay. What is... and I can't remember exactly, but it's basically like, because you're wondering whether to stick with what you're doing or whether to stop your career.
Okay, come on.
Yeah.
That's not that...
No, that's not unusual.
Yeah.
I'm not claiming that's unusual.
Okay,
right?
all right.
Okay, I know that's a common one for men, especially.
Yeah.
But it was exactly what he said.
Yeah.
And then says, okay. And he goes, then this smile. Oh, no, first of all, he said, like, okay, this guy's your grandfather. He was, and started talking about his, he's a sailor. He was involved in an accident at sea, saved a couple of lives, a couple of bits of back down, right?
Right.
So do you know? I don't know, Okay. Then when it's okay, now you've come here because you're wondering about your career. That's the thing that's on your mind, whether to keep going or not. And he's, well, your grandfather's laughing. He's saying, no one completed a voyage by jumping off ship halfway across. So keep doing it. And by the way,
so far, absolutely none of this is convincing me.
Okay, right. Wait.
All right.
And then the windows blew open.
Yeah, it's really...
Okay,
candles
sorry, I
flicker.
have to give you the story.
Horses rose up.
Okay.
Yeah, go on.
Okay. And what is it? And then something good's going to happen in May. Right.
Okay.
So, that was it. End of reading. Went on. After we go out, I said, well, what do you reckon? Okay. And he goes, I know my background's full of sailors. I just want to see if they'd stick to their guns. Right, so that's interesting. And okay, then that was basically more or less it. But there's a slight follow-up to this, is that the dad used to research the family tree, used to come up to London to search the family tree.
Right.
And found out later, something like 6 months later, about the accident that was talked about, that he'd saved his life. Didn't know. So no one living at that point in the family knew of this when that was
okay, all right. This is a nice story about a friend of yours whose grandfather died.
To add a bit of rationalism, the thing that in May didn't happen. Nothing great happened that May. So that's the story. That's what happened. Now I've known this guy since I was 2. I've known his dad. They're friends of our family. No, it's not. The biggest problem I have. It's not in itself. But how many people would that apply to? How many people would you think that would apply to? If you gave that reading and went up to strangers on the street and said, you have your great grandfather is involved in an accident at sea, blah blah blah. How many people would that account? I wouldn't think it'd be 1 in a million.
Okay, the problem I have. All right, I don't. Okay, the problem I have with it, with these spiritualist churches, mediums, is they never ask any questions about the afterlife. They never go, "Where are you? What's it like when you die?" It's
People
always
do. If you ask them, they will talk about it.
It's always why is it always like, why do they always confirm stuff for you? Oh, you've got a pink 90, haven't you?
They said the main purpose of the reading. They said the main thing is to give reassurance and above all, rather than the messages, they said the most important thing is to reassure people that they will see their loved ones when they die,
but there's
and that
so
there is
much
something
more interesting
more.
things you could ask dead people.
Well, the thing is about the spiritual realm, as they describe it, is that they are different levels, and I've been to other levels of mediums,
right,
where trance mediums, and this again, I'm not saying it's all true, or I think there's plenty of frauds without any doubt, but I'm just kind of quoting the received wisdom on this one, is that there's different levels, and the ones that you tend to get through depends on the medium that you go via. For example, a Ouija board will get through to the lower levels. It's like, whereas using an actual medium themselves will get you communicate to the above levels. They're not spiritually advanced, but they're good people. Ouija boards tend to get through to the darker entities that sort of don't want to leave, don't want to acknowledge their death, kind of thing. They sort of fucked up. They want to sort of still attach to this world. The next level, like I say, through a medium like a spiritualist church, would be more the kind of your Aunt Doris types. Then when you can get to the trance mediums, if you accept them as true, are getting to the real sort of the advanced kind of masters kind of thing. So then that's when you get the deep wisdom and stuff about reincarnation. You'll be told kind of real deep stuff about your whole life karmic journey and that kind of thing. So it is there. I mean, you can't. I'm not saying for you to believe it, but you can't say they don't do it, because they do. There is a real danger.
I've just never heard any story from a medium that is of any theological or scientific or spiritual of any interest at all. It's always like, Uncle Jim says make sure you defrost your car in the morning because he knows you often have it.
Yeah,
it's always completely.
But also, you
facts.
might be dealing with mostly frauds. The ones you've looked at, there's plenty of frauds.
But no one's ever come up with anything significant. No one's ever gone.
The ones I have.
How cold is it there? What colour is it? Which god's right? Yeah, what colour is it there? Can you see?
Heaven.
Have you got legs? How old are you?
You will. There are people there's books on this. There's a book called The Soul's Journey by Peter Shrdlu, which goes into, he claims he's taken on astral journeys of a series of them and explored all the different regions of the kind of the afterlife, and he talked about exactly how it all works. And it might be a work of fantasy. No one seems to know, because
right.
the author's kind of very. No one seems to have much information on him, but it's fascinating, and it really does sort of seem like it's kind of the sort of thing that you could imagine would be how it would work. There's lots of interesting things on that about, for example,
what was he going to?
Well, it's kind of funny in a way. It's like, when you first arrive, first of all, there's quite a dark period where you have to review your own life. People sort of...
Oh, God. You see, this is what worries me.
You might not like it, but, it's not there to just sort of cater to your demands necessarily.
Why not?
It is what it is,
Can you imagine?
No, I know.
Jesus
but the thing is that
Christ.
a lot of people then go through a crisis period because they...
I'm not fucking surprised.
Well... But we in this realm we kind of want we want justice, don't we? We often say that fucking cunt, I hope he goes to hell. Well,
no,
hey,
I don't.
It.
I think this life is so fucking complicated and difficult, even for the most privileged people. Like, I think if you get out without murdering anybody, then you've done a pretty good job. And if you die, you should be.
They don't really sort of.
You should have
most
of the
accounts I've
like
seen
at the end of a marathon with a fucking segment of orange and a blanket around you and go, well done.
But they sort of are initially. That's actually not far off what they sort of say. Is that when you first arrive, there's you meet all the there's people waiting for you, all the kind of spirits of people you're connected to, and then it's all sort of lovely for a while, and then you kind of.
I get there and go, what the fuck was that about?
The life
the hell was that about? I didn't ask for this.
Because but the idea, this is the model. This is the model I kind of believe in, and the nearest. This is after my crisis, and I went through, and some weird shit happened that led this, which actually led to the book that we've been talking about earlier, So the Master Game.
Oh yeah.
That's exactly how I read it, was because I was just going through this and I actually asked, if there's a God, can you give me a sign? And that was after the. I suppose I can. Can I continue the story? It's not too irrelevant.
No,
after the crisis and whatever, and. Like I say, I was not sleeping. I couldn't watch a movie without my mind racing, and I realised I was kind of really round the corner from madness or suicide, and I wasn't sure. I really was. I was just like, at the age of 21 or something. I don't see any point. There's nothing on this life that's going to make me happy. I knew that. I knew drugs wasn't going to really be the answer. I certainly wasn't happy with the average stuff that most people were into. I didn't want fame anymore. I kind of saw through that, saw through money. I saw everything's ultimately ending up in pain.
Yeah.
Mine or someone else's. And I thought, this is horrible. I've seen things too close, too really, and I didn't have an answer. And so then I said, okay. And my fear was that all that was left to me was religion, right? I thought, well, that's where you go now, isn't it?
Yeah.
And then I thought...
I've had that crisis.
And I thought, fuck, the last thing I want to do is end up one of these hippie guys, Either I don't want to go back to church and the shit I'd left, But also, I didn't want to become one of these hippie guys. If I go to the meditation, religion, spiritual. I was living with a guy, sort of more or less a self-professed guru, who was this complete sort of. And I thought, I do not want to end up like that fucker. Because he was a fucking, and I thought, well, that's the kind of two options, isn't it? You either kind of, chant with beads, or you go to Catholic church and confess your sins. And I thought, neither's very appealing. They're not me. So then I did this thing, which I never thought I'd do, and I said, look, if there's a God, I need a sign. I need to kind of something. I've hit a fucking wall.
Were you on your
I
knees
literally
at this
did a
point?
conscious, asked a question mentally. I beseeched. I said, I need guidance.
Where were you at this?
Well, I was living in a squat in Chelsea.
And were you on your knees at this point?
No, I wasn't. It was just a mental sort of affirmation.
Did you have your hands clasped?
I don't think so. I don't fully remember. I just remember saying it like very.
Were you
very
picturing
clearly.
a God? Because when I
was kind of picturing
the moments
above me.
I've prayed in my life for those desperate moments, I always find it very. I spend so much time trying to picture God, and then I come up with some sort of Old Testament man with a beard. I'm like, no, that's obviously not God. And then you come up with this sort of wispy, sort of will-o'-the-wisp kind of floaty thing. It's just I find it almost impossible to.
I think I was also thinking in terms of spirits as well. I think it wasn't just a God as such. I just wanted to know if there's more to this life or not. Really, it's sort of something like that. I'm not sure if there's something out there. Let me know. Something like that.
Yeah.
So then.
A 21-year-old who partied too much in a squat in Chelsea, praying to God for the guy.
It was opposite the army barracks in Chelsea. It wasn't quite as clever as it sounds. Well, that sounds scary. Anyway, And so I asked this question, and it was earnest. It wasn't a sort of casual thing. And then, I think it's about 3 days later, I went back to see my parents, and my mum was said, I'm trying to clear the bookshelves upstairs, trying to give them to charity. Can you go through and see if there's anything you want? So me and my brother go through the bookshelf. Yeah. And he picks out this book. He goes, oh, this looks like your cup of tea. I'm sure I'd have missed it otherwise, actually, to be honest, if he hadn't just done that one thing. That book completely changed my thinking, my entire life, and saved me, I believe, from madness or suicide. I really don't see what else I'd have done. And the book's called The Master Game by Robert Esterop, which you're reading right now. I get it, yeah.
It's really good. Who is Robert Esterop?
Well, he's a biochemist from, I think, California. He's written extensive, scholarly stuff on drugs and the mind and stuff like that. And he's very kind of, qualified biochemist. I'm not even quite sure what a biochemist is exactly, but anyway. And he wrote this book called The Master Game. And on the back cover, because it just said, this book is about. It basically said that it's about games.
I've actually got it in my phone. Let me see if I've got
a Master Games. What's the subtitle to it?
Let me get it up.
It's like games and their somethings or something like that. And anyway, in a nutshell, basically it says this is about beyond the drug experience. I think it is called. So it was like this is all about whether there's more beyond the drug experience. And basically, this book was the whole sort of basic thing is that we all need a game in life.
Pathways to higher consciousness. Yeah, it does seem like a lot of woo-woo bollocks.
It really isn't. If you read it, this is hard-hitting book. It's the most hard-hitting spiritual book I think I've ever seen, really. In that it's really kind
of... It's not really spiritual. It's not that... No, it's not that spiritual.
Yeah, mysticism.
Far more yeah, but it's really academic as well.
Yeah, and he talks about the science of the chemicals in the brain and the... But what his basic premise is that there's various different games in life. The family game, the fame game, the money game, the religion game... there's darker games like the war game, the Moloch game, he calls it. Yeah. Power game, I can't remember. And he gives them a nickname, like fame, he calls it cock on dunghill. He talks about some people who are just devoted to fame and basically, they only read, the most extreme form is that all they care about is just reading their name in the papers and whatever. Yeah. Anyway, basically says that all these games are an illusion. Some are kind of more harmless than others, but they're basically none are going to give lasting happiness. Yeah. There's only, and he says, but it's better to have a bad game than no game. He said that's when you go mad. Now this is exactly where I was at. Yeah. And then he said, and he basically said, there's only one game. The drug game. He goes into drugs, and he says that drugs are a cul-de-sac. They'll leave you. It'll give you glimpses to a higher.
Such a shame that drugs are a cul-de-sac. It's a real. But then, if
they weren't, what would you do? Sit around just taking drugs all day?
I would. Yeah.
But imagine it. I mean, it sounds good.
No, but that's what I mean. If it wasn't a cul-de-sac, if it fucking worked. Do you know what? It's only 2010, 2011, after I bashed my head against the wall with drugs so many times, and I found methadone, that fucking meow drug, and I took it. I thought, That's it. That's fucking it. They've invented the ultimate drug. This is it. I can just take this all the time.
Yeah.
Fucking great. Obviously, that lasted about 3 weeks until it all fucking fell to pieces. But, you know, I'm still slightly hopeful that one day it's not going to happen, is it?
No, it won't happen. As he says, he calls it spiritual burglary.
Yeah.
Drug taking. But it's good that he doesn't condemn it. He wrote this in 1968 when everyone was into drugs. And he was right in the middle of it all. It's very prescient what he said. But it's fucking accurate.
But I think people who haven't... I do think drug addicts and alcoholics are slightly closer to enlightenment than people who aren't, because they've
seen it.
Well, they're aware that it's an internal problem, not an external problem. They're aware that something needs to change. Yeah. Well, even if they're not consciously aware, they're still drugging. They still realise it's a problem with the brain.
Yeah, okay.
It's the thoughts that are controlling you, and if you can stop those thoughts, you can get in touch with.
I'm not sure if they all see it like that, but
No, I don't think they do see it like that. But they have realised that the solution is internal. It's not going. You know, because I realised from ecstasy that, you know, you can be truly, truly happy on a wet Wednesday morning, sitting behind your sofa, watching daytime TV. You can be blissfully happy with that. You don't actually, you know, and I think without realising that, I think, you know, you'll be chasing other things. You'd still be chasing.
Yeah, you certainly could, for example, see through money quite quickly if you. Well, it depends on your thinking, but it's a very quick way to see. God, what a pointless fucking game that one is. You know? So you can tick off some games. Say that one's pointless. This
whole idea of this, I have a problem now, because I have realised that some form of Buddha, Zen Buddha. How long have we waited on?
I don't know. I'm more worried that it's going to switch off. 36 minutes. Because the last one time we did this, we mess around. The machine switched off midway. Which is
now I'm going to sound like
really nervous.
Absolute fucking West London middle class prick.
Yeah.
Who's spoken about trying to find enlightenment through methadone, and now having read a few books about Zen Buddhism.
What does it matter if you're middle class? I mean, if you said that if you're working class, so that becomes valid, you know. I mean,
but it's because we don't have any identity. You know, there's nothing I can be proud of. Being slightly overprivileged, enough to be introspective, and enough to. Oh, I hate myself so much.
I know, I do too.
It's just thanks, love. But I have realised that probably Zen Buddhism is right. I think it probably.
Well, that's like the mask game. There's a certain point. Again, you see that if you actually think logically.
But why am I going to work
you arrive
tomorrow?
At the same. When you talk about the teenage son, it's very hard. You don't even have to be spiritual to arrive just through logical thinking.
But why am I going to work
arrive at the same
tomorrow?
answer? Because if you've got your teenager we mentioned earlier, you're going, it's all pointless. You go, well, yeah, he's kind of right. You know, you will die. It will be pointless, and it will be painful, probably as well. There'll be a lot of fucking pain at the end if you're not careful, or just unlucky.
No.
I mean, I heard a story just tonight about fucking grim story. A friend of mine said,
well, let's tell the audience.
He said he used to party on. He's the guy who'd be partying at Ministry of Sound, dancing on the speakers, above everyone, all the girls cheering him. So he went around to see him recently. He's younger than him. He said he was just like a cabbage virtually. He just said he would nod off every half an hour. He just couldn't take it.
What's wrong with it?
He's got. I can't remember what he said. Maybe it's some illness, but he's on the way out. I gather, or something. I'm not sure, but it's just you go when it's someone that you used to remember as being the king of the party scene. You now look at him and it looks like. He's not that old.
Yeah, but a lot of the kings of the party scene end up like
there is a bit of that, but also they're not. That was a long time ago. He didn't continue doing that forever. I don't think.
Oh really?
But it happens to be randomly. There's plenty of people. It just happens.
This really is.
So, but what I was going to say,
is the party podcast, isn't it?
Yes. But going back to the teenage son.
Yeah.
What's a mother going to say? And they're either going to say, "I'll just clean your room and shut up," whatever. But if you're going to try to give them real advice. You're going to have to acknowledge that, they're sort of right, but also that leaves you two options: kill yourself, or make the most of it because it's precious and enjoy it. I mean, that's really it, isn't it? I mean, the only two logical solutions. And suicide is very dangerous.
Is it precious though?
And you're also missing out on all that potential time you could be having a laugh. Okay, it might be bleak at the end, but still the time in between. Or, like I say, you just say, well, isn't that more reason to fucking enjoy every second you've got?
Yeah, but you can't enjoy every second you got.
Well, try to enjoy it. No, you can't.
But you can't.
But you can try to. And that's I mean, life's difficult for most people. And
life's difficult
fucking
for
difficult for
the
most
privileged,
people.
but life is difficult full stop.
I know, but largely that's a political fucking issue. I mean, if it wasn't for the having to pay your rent and all the shit that we have to deal with, I mean, you could, in theory, live on an island with a fishing rod and be able to live. And have a place, and it doesn't cost much for a basic place. You could have $5,000, you could have a sort of livable accommodation. If it wasn't for the fucking ground rent and all the shit that building, whatever. Theoretically, in the past, for example, you could, if you weren't being exploited and didn't have to worry about the Catholic Church trying to murder you and all the other shit they had to deal with. But if you're just left alone, life would be like wouldn't have that much stress. I mean, okay, it'd be stressful, but it wouldn't be. It could be.
My life doesn't have that much stress at all. I mean, comparatively to the rest of the world.
No.
But it's still stressful. It's still fucking irritating going, I wonder what that lump is. Perhaps it's cancer. Oh, God. Do you know what I mean? It's still, I've got toothache. I do enjoy life, and it is sort of, there are moments of, it's wonderful, but a lot of it is incredibly stressful. And I probably would, if I had the choice to be aborted, I probably would choose that.
Would you?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. To never have experienced it at all.
Because I think the other thing about pain is it's temporary, and even if even at the end it's temporary.
No, it's not.
It might be
not the
drawn
end.
out.
Not if you've got face cancer.
But it will stop
when you die.
Yeah, when you die, and then either it stops, so it does actually stop.
You go to hell.
Or you maybe go to even hell. Most people who talk about forms of hell still say it's not forever. So it's kind of like assuming this is right. No, I mean, I'm not saying. If it's right, okay. Like first off, if it's death, then it still ends. If it's an afterlife, then you get through it. So it's really like a temporary. Okay, it might be grim, but it's not forever. And then you get through it, and then you enter that nice realm again. So would you really?
What do you mean this
imagine
nice
you're on the
realm?
other side?
Where are you getting this from?
Well, from lots of people's accounts of near-death experience, mystics and whatever, who've talked about astrally projecting.
But there's so many contradictory theories. There's no general consensus on any of this. It's so
you can make them all make all the main ones add up quite easily. It's a kind of thought realm. That's how most of them describe it. So someone can have a different experience of it, completely depending on their mental paradigm of what they imagine it to be. It's compatible. You could have, the Krishna kind of type of view of it. They have different visions when they die compared to Christians, by and large, for example, which appears to undermine the whole idea. But if you accept it as a thought realm, and there's all these dimensions, and you can go anywhere and create your own reality, then that becomes quite logical.
The Hindu and Krishna religion is completely contradictory to the...
I don't know them well enough to know, to be honest. A lot of them are probably bullshit, or large parts, but there's a lot of crossover stuff that's correct, that's similar, I mean.
Well, I mean, if there's the sort of five main religions, Judaism, Christianity, Hinduism, Islam and Buddhism.
Yeah.
If one of those is right, the rest are wrong.
Not necessarily, because they could be partly right. I mean, Christianity could be partly right. They just missed out the bit about reincarnation and karma. That might be cut out of the Bible, which it was cut out of the Bible according to some sources. The references to reincarnation were all removed in the 400 AD, I think, or something like that. The Council of Nicaea or whatever. There's a lot of passages that appear to actually suggest reincarnation. If you look at the Bible as well, there's quite a few that talk about.
There's a bit where Jesus
has many rooms, and
there's the Jesus a child chapters where Jesus kills somebody when he's a child. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Where's that in?
I don't know. In the Bible, it's in one of the Gospels of St. Thomas or something. Gosh. One of the lost Gospels where he's getting up to all.
There's a really interesting interpretation of one quote.
I wonder how many people are still listening.
I doubt anyone.
No one's listening. We're fine now. We can relax.
We can really
really let this go. Okay, drive this over.
Do you know this quote, by the way?
I'm looking on my phone now. I've given up. I was actually trying to find out the gospel. Sorry, I was actually trying to Google Jesus as a child. Carry on.
The child murder. I'm sure I'd have heard about that.
No. Trust me. There is a lost gospel where Jesus casts a spell, and there's one where he kills a dragon.
Really?
Maybe I'm thinking Lord of the Rings. No, it is. I'll find this all for next week.
All right. Well, okay.
Go on. What's this quote?
Well, the quote is the one that says, "Forgive them, for they know not what they do."
You think? Yeah, I've heard this.
I think it's the Greek Orthodox translation of it's different, and theirs is, "Forgive them not, for they know what they do."
Yeah, that really does change Jesus' whole
character. It very much changes the style. And it's one word and a comma.
Yeah, but it's sort of ruins...
It's actually just a moved word, isn't it?
Yeah, but it also kind of...
It sounds much more believable.
Ruins Christianity, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. But that's exactly, again, the thing. Then it becomes basically Buddhism.
No, what?
Well, maybe not Buddhism, but well, it depends on which branch of Buddhism. But it kind of, well, it's not just forgiveness.
No, it just becomes nothing.
No, well, it becomes no, not exactly.
It just becomes someone
a bit
really
area.
pissed off on the
Not
cross.
exactly. It just becomes more like general sort of Buddhist type philosophy and spiritual thought generally. It's going to basically be compassionate, do unto others as you have done unto yourself. You could view the sins and whatever as being, a bit like Buddhism. They're not necessarily you will go to hell for doing them. They're just wrong for your spiritual development. If you lust after things, then it slows down your development. It's not good. If you see it in that light, you can go, well, this is actually really compatible with lots of...
Well, don't forgive them because they know what they've done.
Don't forgive them because they are aware. Whereas if they didn't know what they were doing, then forgive them. If they were genuinely... But if they know they're doing evil and they choose to do it, then they're not worthy of your forgiveness. And I think that's a better philosophy than the other.
Really?
Like, yeah, fuck them. If someone does something shit to you and wants to...
The whole basis of Christianity is forgiveness. It's based on forgiveness.
But we don't know who fucking... change the text, do we? And what they
changed. But without
and
that, it's just...
I think they were deliberately changed to divide and rule. They deliberately made key alterations to the text.
That whole Jesus on the cross thing literally makes no fucking sense. It means nothing.
Yeah, I've never understood. It just
he
died for our sins. Well,
what?
I haven't done any sins,
But why did he have to die for our sins anyway?
Yes, I've absolutely no fucking idea. We still go to hell if we do certain things. So, supposedly.
But it's also like, well, why did he have to go through that? Could he not just have said, "Oh, don't worry about his sins"?
Oh, Dad, who is me? Yeah, I don't fucking know.
No one's ever told me why he had to die.
That's because I think it's just that there's a load of stuff in there that just doesn't make sense. I mean, why should it all make sense? It's not like it is the word of God, is it? It's not a literal thing. It's just been passed down and bound to be changed. There's contradictions in there, different accounts of the same events. So, there's bound to be a load of shit in there. Doesn't mean it's all shit or, that there wasn't some truth. I don't know, maybe it is all shit, but it's also possible that it's some of it's true and a lot of it got altered.
I don't know. I don't think the answer lies between it either being, a lot of people say this sort of like it's, it
seems to me he was just someone this is my slant on it, and it's, but everyone has their own view and it just suits their own views, I guess. But mine is that I see Jesus as someone who is a sort of mystic, who's quite advanced, maybe had some sort of, he had mastered something and was trying to tell people, listen, you too can do this. You can cure illnesses with power of thought and love and stuff like that. And there's much more you can do, and you can live heaven on earth if you can do it. Basically like the master. There
is a lot of...
And he's more or less a karma yogi. What he calls karma yogi, where you find enlightenment by living selflessly. Yeah. And that's actually what I tried. That was actually after I read the Master Game. That was the first thing I tried. And that's when I had my first, what you might call a sort of sense of enlightenment. It was a brief thing. It's not like I became enlightened, but I experienced that kind of higher consciousness, I believe, after consciously deciding to act selflessly.
Why did you not chase that then?
I did chase it. I've been chasing it all my life.
But why did you not continue down the path?
Well, I got ill was one of my problems. I was doing yoga. I then did yoga, which he recommended as being another way to advance. And I was starting to get sort of spiritual-like experiences quite regularly. Say about once a month, I was sort of entering a sort of hour of sort of mystical kind of stuff, and it's powerful. I mean, it's comparable to acid, and it's straight. And it's not acid. It's not a flashback. It's a different thing. And I think I made some I think I advanced quite a bit in that time, and then I got very ill suddenly with ME or whatever, I don't know, some muscle thing. And within 3 weeks I couldn't really walk properly. I could walk, but I couldn't.
But you can walk now?
Yeah, because I spent 5 years trying to get better.
Well, why weren't you doing the yoga and the
Because I never got fully better. And my body crashes if I do any real sort of straining. It's just one of the things.
What about meditation?
Well, I'm lazy. I never found meditation
so hard.
I found it so difficult. Yoga was how I did it, because yoga prepares you for meditation, and then I could do it. Well, occasionally do it.
So, meditation is so frightening.
It's really tricky,
because it just shows how insane. Does just fucking show the insane babbling of the mind.
I know, but that's why yoga is so good, because it gets you physically sort of stretched and get the kind of prana going around your body, and your mind starts to calm down anyway. And then when you do the relaxation at the end or a meditation, your mind is already. That's why yoga's so brilliant, because it actually works to overcome that without having to really work it. It's really scientifically designed to sort of put you into a state which can meditate.
But it's to help you meditating. It's to help you.
Pretty much, it's really to get you to the end point and to keep you toned.
It is alarming though how sitting quietly with your eyes closed, concentrating on your breathing, just really shows that the most of life is a fantasy. Most of life is just one babbling, long, fantastical narrative that you're telling yourself.
I know.
But absolutely, virtually no relation to actually what's going on.
I know. It's just like a narrator commenting on what they see through your two eyes constantly.
Yeah.
And imagining things and referring back. Spending almost no time in the actual moment. It's complete insanity. And that's what The Master Game is a great book for pointing out. It's just, in a very kind of logical way, that it is insane, that we're all in a sort of, in a way, mad.
Completely.
The only time we're not mad is when we actually switch stuff off, and then you actually see life. You're actually looking at it. That's not mad.
This is what I was going to say about the Zen Buddhism thing. The fact that I now, when you come to that realization that we spend our lives in this complete and utter fantasy of, of telling yourself this narrative, status anxiety, anxiety about money, anxiety about health, anxiety about what people think about you, anxiety about what you're going to be doing, anxiety about what you've done. Just this constant, ridiculous, retrospective narrative you tell yourself about this just nonsense. It's sort of quite hard to go, right, so I'm going to save up to go on holiday there, and I'm going to get this. What the fuck am I even participating in this? Why aren't I up the fucking mountain on the yoga mat denouncing all this as madness?
Well, again, I hate to sound boorish about this, but The Master Game's great. You haven't finished it, have you? It's great at answering all these questions, because that's why I loved it so much, and why it's such a perfect book for me at that time, because it didn't say you have to abandon that stuff. It doesn't, it doesn't even say, you can't pursue fame, for example. It says that what you need to do is to see it for what it is.
And he talks nonsense, though.
Yeah, but the thing is, fame is, but if you're, as he said, like certain people are thrust into that. For example, if you're a politician and you want to do, you are without even intending to, you have to sort of play the fame game to an extent. You can't just say what you want all the time and not worry about it. And it's. What he points out, that the real thing is to realise that you wear masks, but to be aware that you're wearing a mask. So you can sort of go into that mode. Like if you're going on stage, you can go, right, now I'm going to be a rock star or a comedian. I'm going to play this kind of persona. But so long as you know it's a persona, or you do an interview and you hype yourself up a bit and you kind of, yeah, man, I don't know what it is, but you can still be a rock star. But good example, say Alice Cooper as a performer. He's Vince Furness or whatever his name is, and Alice Cooper, and so he's turned it into literally two personas, and sort of a couple of people have done that.
Yeah, but I can't imagine Alice Cooper's particularly spiritually.
But in a way, that's what a lot of people screw up on, is that the reason why fame fucks up a lot of people.
Yeah, but Alice Cooper
because they don't know the difference between them and their true self.
Alice Cooper's a complete, fame junkie. He'll do anything.
I don't know if he is. I see him as a showman.
He's a showman
who sees it as showman. And I think if you do that,
he likes attention. I'm a showman. He likes a lot of money, Alice Cooper.
Yeah, but that's not necessarily a problem, especially if you've got it coming.
I think it is. I think it really is.
You can enjoy your money if you're making money. I don't see it's a problem necessarily. It's again, the money again is another one. It's like, it's not the money that's the problem. It's whether you crave it, whether you get hung up on it, that's the problem, and whether it becomes your god. Yeah. That's when you've got a problem with it. But if you handed me £1 million, it doesn't necessarily, it's not going to corrupt, necessarily make me an evil or a different person. It's how I choose to spend it.
I think it would. What time is it now? How long have we done?
53 minutes. That's roughly the wrap-up time, isn't it?
No, we're going to do. Let's just close on this. I'm going to say this.
Yeah.
No one's going to understand what I'm talking about, and then we're going to end on a real lull. Okay. You ready for this?
I don't see the point, but yeah, okay.
No, because maybe you'll answer the question for me, right?
Oh, okay.
I was thinking this the other day. I haven't actually formed it into words yet that have come out of my mouth, so this might literally make no sense at all.
Okay.
So bear with me. Yeah. I thought we'd end on a high.
Okay.
Okay. Can I even start this? Okay. Is consciousness there to facilitate the body, or is the body there to facilitate consciousness? Is consciousness there just because evolution is just there to? It's not interested in the individual evolution. It's just there to is only interested in the species, the development of the species, for it to carry on. Is consciousness there in order to make sure this body consumes water and food and functions, or is the body there to consume food and drink in order to keep the consciousness alive, awake, alert there?
I've no fucking idea.
You've been listening to Unlistenable with John Jenkinson and Tim Briffa. This episode has been sponsored by the Master Game. We will be back. You're going on holiday.
Yeah.
Just when you thought, my God, I need another Unlistenable with John Jenkinson and Tim Briffa, I'm going to deny you for 2 weeks.
We'll probably put this out later anyway, won't we?
Yeah, okay. So, anything else you want to say?
No.
Good.
I think we've cleared everything up.
I think we've sorted that one out. Is there
any further questions? Right in.
No, there isn't. Bye.
Bye.